Welcome in, y'all. Another NFL week almost in the books. We're going to recap some of these games, talk about what we saw from the week. We're going to start it with the early game from Sunday, a very, very low scoring affair across the pond. Broncos narrowly won this one. The Jets had a chance at the end. They were just outside of field goal range, couldn't quite get it done. Fields did not look good at all. He had net negative passing yards due to the, I believe, 9 sacks he took. So they got to clean that up. Just more mistakes from the Jets. I mean, they started the first 2 drives of the game. They got the turnover early. They started at like the 35, ended up kicking a field goal. Then they get the 72-yard kickoff return, start at like the 30, and they end up kicking a field goal. So the offense was not taking advantage of their opportunities this game. The Broncos, I would like to see a lot more from their offense. 13 points against the Jets. That's not good. I don't feel confident about this Broncos offense, but the Broncos defense looks incredibly solid, and they should continue to do well in the upcoming weeks. Then talking about some of the noon, 1 o'clock Eastern games that happened. You had the Rams taking on the Ravens. They won this one 17-3. Lamar Jackson was out once again. Cooper Rush started this one. Huntley came in and finished it. The Ravens just couldn't get anything going offensively. The Rams really shut them down there. The Ravens did do a good job at really draining some clock, which I think is what you have to do when you're so depleted skill-wise that you're a little outmatched. So they did a good job of that, and it limited the Rams' chances, and the Rams had a missed field goal there, but at the end of the day, it just wasn't enough. The injuries have caused the Ravens to fall so far behind. They should get Lamar Jackson back after this upcoming bye week, so we'll see how big of an impact that makes, but there's still a lot of injuries on that team. They got a big hole they better start climbing out of quickly. But for the Rams, they looked good. They did what they needed to. Nothing too flashy from this one, but nothing too bad. They won by 2 touchdowns, looked solid. Hopefully Puka stays healthy. That's big for them. But moving on to the Browns and the Steelers. Steelers they were ahead this whole game. They controlled the entirety of it. They just looked like the better team. They are the better team. Dylan Gabriel's second game. No touchdowns, no picks, of course. Played fairly clean. Threw the ball 52 times and didn't turn it over. So I will give him credit for that. But throwing it 52 times and only having 221 yards, that's a bit rough. They couldn't get the ground game going too much either. So, this Browns offense is just very stagnant. It seems like no matter what they do, the pieces just aren't there to do it. The defense continues to play fairly well. Holding Pittsburgh to 23, that's all right. Could have done a little better. Rodgers played another clean game for the Steelers, 2 touchdowns, no picks. A lot of carries on the ground for Pittsburgh. But they looked good. This game kind of went how you thought it would. It was lower scoring. Steelers were kind of ahead the whole time. Nothing really stood out too much in this one. Browns are bad. Steelers, I'm still waiting to get a read on. They're 4-1. I think their record is a little better than they are. I think they're a good team, maybe above average from what we've seen. But I don't know if they're like 4-1, top of the AFC good. We'll find out here soon. They're going to get some tougher challenges, coming up. They have Cincinnati this week, which shouldn't be too tough a challenge, but then they have Green Bay, Indianapolis, and the Chargers on deck. So some big challenges coming their way. They better be prepared. Now, this one here, Chargers, Dolphins, this was a fun one down in Miami. A little back and forth there. Dolphins, once again, had a chance to win and just couldn't do it. They've had some close losses now, the Dolphins have. Their last few weeks, a 2-point loss here, 3-point loss to the Panthers. They beat the Jets. They, barely lost to the Patriots. They took the Bills to the fourth quarter. So Dolphins just can't seem to finish out these games. And the Chargers, though, on the flip side, very good to see them finish out a game and get a win. They really needed a win. They have a lot of injuries piling up, and a loss here, putting them at 3-3, would have really put them behind with their third straight loss. But the Chargers' offense looked pretty good. Yeah, you lost a fumble, of course, which is difficult, but no interceptions. They got the ground game going. I mean, at 5.6 yards per carry, that's going to win you a lot of games. Vidal looked great filling in for the injured Hampton and Harris. So good stuff there. Herbert took care of the ball, was relatively efficient. So good stuff from the Chargers all around. Dolphins, I mean, they were in this game, and the ground game was really going. A-Chain was going nuts. But, I mean, Tua, three picks, that's just not going to win you many games. So tough for the Dolphins. I think it's just going to continue to be tough for Miami. The culture there is just brutal at the moment. I'm surprised McDaniel still has a job. We'll see if that's still the case in the coming weeks. But, props to them to at least stay in these games. I mean, morale's got to be at an all-time low, and they're hanging tough in a lot of these, so I will give the Dolphins credit for that. But moving on here, we have the Patriots and Saints. This was a pretty fun game. You had 25-19 as the final score. And a note I keep making about the Saints anytime I talk about them. I think this is a team very low and lacking on talent. But we're now 6 games into the season, and the Saints have only turned the ball over 3 times. That's really impressive, and that's why they're staying in a lot of these games. You can be a below-average team, but if you take care of the football, you're going to have chances. Now, 3 turnovers in 6 games, and they're still 1-5. I mean, that's tough. Like I said, that's evident of their a little lack of talent. But I think they're well coached. They're playing clean football. I like what I'm seeing. I think the future could be bright there. I like the coaching, the way it's been going. So despite the losing, I do like what I'm seeing from the Saints. Patriots, May continues to look really good. 10 touchdowns, 2 picks on the year. The ground game couldn't really get going, 2.4 yards per carry. They got to do better than that if you're going to win many games. But, yeah, 4-2 now. Could easily have been 5-1, those fumbles in that Steelers game. So things are looking really good for New England. And the schedule is easy for the Patriots. Go check it out. It's incredibly easy. And, I mean, if they don't shoot themselves in the foot, they seem like they have an easy walk to the playoffs. Now, they're a young team, and I could absolutely see them tripping up against one of the teams they're better than. So we'll see. They got to keep playing consistent football. But, yeah, Patriots in the playoffs is starting to look like a real possibility, especially with the Bengals and Ravens dealing with those injuries that have caused them to plummet out of the picture for the time being. But now moving on to Cardinals-Colts, a game that you heard Kyler Murray was ruled out, I think just the evening before this game, and Brissett came in and played pretty good. He did have the interception, but I mean, threw for 320, 2 touchdowns. The ground game wasn't doing amazing for Arizona, 3.7 per carry, mediocre. But Brissett looked great. They looked great. They were moving the ball on this Indianapolis defense that has been pretty good all year. The Colts, on the flip side, they played pretty well, at least offensively as well. They were getting 5.6 yards per carry. Jonathan Taylor has just been great. I mean, he has been a beast all year long. He's been very, very consistent, and he's proven why he's one of the best backs in the league. Daniel Jones played pretty well. 212 through the air, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. It was a rough pick. On paper, it feels like the Colts should have won this game by more, especially with Kyler Murray out. But this is one of those, you get a scare and you find a way to come out of it with a win, and they did. They held on at the end. It did come down to the wire, though. Props to Arizona with the swap at QB late in the week to put up a really, really good fight here against a good team. So, you don't get moral victories, though. So Arizona is still 2-4. They got a long road in front of them to recover from that. It's going to be really tough. And this week, they're hosting a very, very good Packers team. Then they have 2 road games against solid NFC competition. So it's a long road back for the Cardinals there. The Colts, I'm very, very excited for the Colts game this week. They're on the road against the Chargers, and I think it's a great time to see what those 2 teams have. I think they're 2 up-and-coming teams, and I'm really curious to see how that one goes. But yeah, this was a fun one, and I think that'll be a fun one next week as well. But now turning our attention to Seattle and Jacksonville, a matchup of 2 teams that surprisingly good records. And this was a good game. These are 2 very good defenses, and that's the way they played this week. The defense it was a lower scoring game, 20-12. And Seattle's touchdown, you had that big one to Smith and Jaiba. So, I mean, they really limited each team's ability to kind of walk down the field. Neither team could really get it going on the ground. 3.1 per carry for Jacksonville, 2.3 per carry for the Seahawks. That is rough. So don't like either of the ground games there. It felt kind of like a stalemate back and forth punt fest for a little bit. Seemed like every time I looked up, one of the teams had the ball on their own end of the field. So, like I said, two great defenses going at it. I don't know how much I really learned from this one. I think I learned that Seattle they're gonna be a pretty dangerous team this year. I don't know with Darnold if it's not like he's an elite quarterback that's gonna go and win them games, but the offense is very, very functional, and that defense is very, very scary. So this Seattle team can absolutely continue to put wins together, and I like them winning on the road. When you can win on the road, you can do a lot of things in this league. And, they've lost a couple at home, but they have the 12th man, the home field advantage. We know how good they can be at home, so I think they can take care of business there. They have a fun one next Monday night at home against the Texans, so that should be a pretty good game. Jaguars, tough loss. Now they travel overseas to London. They get a very good Rams team in a matchup there where the Jaguars are 3.5-point underdogs. So big game there if they want to kind of bounce back from this loss. But the Jaguars' schedule eases up a bit after that. They get a trip. They get a bye week and then a trip to Vegas, hopefully to right the ship if they were to lose a second straight. So two good teams who are having two feel-good seasons so far, and they're hoping to make a lot out of it. Both teams are absolutely in the race for their divisions, and it was a fun defensive battle this past Sunday. Now, what certainly was not a defensive battle this Sunday was Panthers-Cowboys, not that we expected it to be. This one was a blast. This one was a very fun game. The Panthers, I said it, I've been saying it for a couple weeks now. It's like a home-road thing with them. And this is starting to solidify the theory. They're really good at home. They're 3-0 at home, 0-3 on the road, and it just looks like a different team, like a completely different team. So, I'm gonna fully just commit to the theory of the home road Panthers if they go on the road and lose to the Jets this week. I think that solidifies it. But they played great in this one. The Panthers fighting back to get to 3-3. Is really awesome of them. I like to see them get mech'd into it. They look like they were in a rough spot there. To start the season, they were 1-2, or they were 0-2. Sorry, with two really lackluster road losses. They got that big home win, but then they went and lost 42-13 in New England. But they found a way to bounce back at home these last 2 weeks. So resilient there. And Bryce Young played great. Well, he played very solid. The ground game is really where it was at for Carolina for the second straight week. Dottle just went off, 183 yards on the ground in this one. As a whole, the Panthers are averaging 5.7, so great stuff from them there. The Cowboys are the opposite. The ground game is where they really fell apart in this one. 31 yards on the ground, averaging 1.6 per carry. You see that stat line, and I'm going to assume you lost the game because the ground game is how you control the flow of the game, and if you can't do it, it's the other team just has their way a lot of the time. So Cowboys, they kept it close late. Dak Prescott continues to play very good football. 3 touchdowns, no picks. He looks great, but unfortunately for him, the ground game can't get going, and the defense can't stop anyone. So tough times for the Cowboys, dropped to 2-3-1. Panthers 3-3. They have life. They have life in the NFC playoff race, and they get a road game against the Jets, which they should win. They should win if they can play like they played at home. So we'll see there. But then after that, they get a tough home test against the Bills. That'll be a fun one. The Cowboys looking to kind of regroup here. They get a home game next week against the Commanders. That should be a fun one. But Cowboys got to start winning games. 2-3-1, they're in danger of falling out of the playoff picture. But now we'll turn our attention to the Titans and the Raiders, two below-average teams that kind of played like it this Sunday. It was kind of a messy game, rough enough for Tennessee to get Callahan finally fired from his head coaching position there. Titans have just been rough all year, and really, they should be 0-6. Their win in Arizona was just the luckiest thing I've ever seen. This Titans team is bad. They're not good. And the Raiders aren't too much better. They gave Genti the ball 23 times, but he couldn't really break anything. I mean, this Tennessee defense is solid, but only 3.3 yards per carry. His longest was 13 yards, couldn't break anything. So not the best day there, but they ended up getting it done. They got it done. They played a bit cleaner in Tennessee. Tennessee had 3 turnovers, all via Cam Ward, so tough day for him. And the struggles continue for Tennessee. And the Raiders can rest easy, at least for one night, getting up to 2-4 on the season. But then, talking about this one here, you got Cincinnati and Green Bay. Joe Flacco comes in midweek in the trade, and he gets the start for the Bengals, and he plays pretty well. I mean, doesn't turn the ball over, which is big. 2 touchdowns to no picks. Fairly efficient. I mean, the Cincinnati ground game couldn't do too much, which made it a little difficult. And Cincinnati's O-line is a bit weaker, but he does only take 1 sack. This game was kind of close down the stretch. I don't know about close. I don't know if it was ever necessarily truly a threat that Green Bay was going to lose. I mean, there was definitely a possibility there, but it kind of felt like even when it got a little testy, Green Bay was going to find a way to get it done, and they did. Cincinnati looked much better, though. That performance is more what I expected from them with Joe Burrow missing. I thought they could compete, keep it kind of close. I mean, Green Bay is a very, very good team they went to play against. They're home against Pittsburgh this week. I think the Bengals could keep that one close. We'll see. I have my picks video coming out in a couple days, but that's going to be an interesting one for sure. But Green Bay gets the job done. They do what they needed to do. They beat a team that hasn't played well at home. 3-1-1 now for the Pack. 2-4 for Cincinnati. And, if things don't change very quickly for the Bengals, they're not going to be seeing the postseason this year. At this point, I'd be surprised if they did. So, good one there. And, the Packers moving up next week. They're in Arizona, so a very, very winnable game. But then you have the Aaron Rodgers Bowl the following week in Pittsburgh. So that's going to be a fun one to keep my eye on. And then, speaking of Pittsburgh, like I said, Cincinnati does have Pittsburgh this Thursday night. So a chance to get a win there. Cincinnati actually has 3 straight home games coming up. So, they're trying to get their first win without Joe Burrow, and they'll have 3 solid chances to do it over the next few weeks. But now we're going to talk about the very fun Niners versus Bucs game. And, I mean, the Bucs are just a fun team right now. They're 5-1. They finally got to do their victory formation this week after having a lot of last-second wins over their first few weeks of the season. They're now 5-1. San Fran falls to 4-2. Mac Jones came back down to earth a little bit with his 2 picks. He got sacked 6 times, so that's brutal. I mean, he's getting beat up back there. The ground game, McCaffrey, 17 carries, but barely eclipses 50 yards. So the Niners were really having a tough time of it. I mean, they were moving the ball well through the air, actually, with Mac Jones. I mean, he put up darn near 350 through the air. So, that's more what I expected from the Niners, to struggle a bit with all these injuries going. I got some flack for having the Niners down a little bit in my power rankings, and I think that this is a good example why. They're a very good team. They're very, very well coached, but the injuries and some of the holes that were already there coming into this season, they're not that great of a team, the Niners. We'll see. Next week, San Francisco, they get a home Sunday night football game against Atlanta, which should be a fun one. Their schedule is insanely easy, though, for San Fran. I do still think they can find themselves in the playoffs, and I think they could win the division with this schedule. So we'll see there. Tampa Bay, I mean, they're the clear front runner for the NFC North at the moment, 5-1. They might run away with it if the Falcons start losing some more games here. All right, I mean, I guess the Panthers are next up now that they're starting to win games. But Tampa Bay has a very fun one next week. It's Tampa Bay at Detroit for Monday Night Football in the Dome. That's going to be a super fun game. I'm very much looking forward to that one, part of a Monday night doubleheader next week. But Baker, the Bucs, per usual, showed a lot of grit in this one. They fought hard, and they came away with the win. So great stuff from the Bucs. I think this is a very, very good team, and they're a team that has proven that if they keep it close, it comes down to the wire, they know how to win games, and that's a very dangerous team in the postseason. So we'll see if that trend continues. But now let's look at Sunday Night Football. This was a good one. I picked the Chiefs in this one. I'm glad I did. They were desperate for a win. They were coming home, and they got the job done. Mahomes, he is playing some very, very good football this season. He is kind of throwing the team on his back. Mahomes had a few off years where it was not looking great just offensively for the Chiefs, and he was starting to fall down the lists of the top quarterbacks in the league, but he has really shouldered a lot of the responsibility through these first 6 weeks, and now they get Rashee Rice back this upcoming week. This Chiefs team could be scary. 30-17 big win. This is so many fourth down attempts in this game. It was kind of fun and chaotic to watch it. That was the equivalent of multiple turnovers. They just don't show up on the stat sheet necessarily. There was no true turnovers in this game. But yeah, a lot of missed fourth down conversions. And it was just a fun one. These are two good teams going at it. The Lions, they played well, but the Chiefs defense did step up in this one a little bit. They stepped up when they needed to, I'll just say that. Goff played well. He had a receiving touchdown taken away from him there via, I believe, an illegal shift it was. That was a tough one. This Chiefs team is something I would be scared of in the AFC. And unfortunately, I'm not a Chiefs fan, so I can't say I necessarily root for them. But unfortunately, it does look like it's starting to trend right back to a Chiefs-Bills AFC title game with some other teams fading. There's a lot of injuries in the AFC, and I think it very well could be Chiefs-Bills on that championship Sunday once again. So, that's always a fun game. Looking forward to it. But the Chiefs got to keep it up. They're home against the Raiders this week. The Lions, still a very good football team. Losing on the road in Arrowhead doesn't really make me think much less of you. They played a pretty good, clean game. They just couldn't get it done on some of those fourth downs. Next week, like I already talked about just recently, they are home against Tampa Bay on Monday night, and suddenly that's a big one. I think it's much bigger for Detroit than Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has a comfortable lead in the division. They're 5-1, but Detroit, they're only half a game up on Green Bay right now via Green Bay's tie. And you lose this one and Green Bay wins, they pass you. You fall to 4-3 in Detroit, and that's a tough spot. So they got to get it done at home in the Dome. That's going to be a fun one. Should come down to the wire. That has classic written all over it. Baker and the Bucs on the road against Goff and the Lions in the Dome on a Monday night. Very much looking forward to that one there. But yeah, this was a great Sunday night game. I hope these games continue. But now, before I close this thing out, quick talk about the Thursday night football game we had. The huge upset, Giants over Eagles. Jackson Dart and the Giants, or at least Jackson Dart, is undefeated at home now, 2-0. He could very well be 3-0 as a starter if they didn't shoot themselves in the foot a few times on the road in New Orleans last week. But, Dart played well again. He got the job done. Cam Scattaboo was insane. 3 touchdowns. He really turned it on in the fourth quarter. Dart, plenty of rushes as well. This Giants team is they're fired up right now. They're playing with a lot of heart. The Eagles team, man, dude, I'd be scared if I was an Eagles fan. A.J. Brown causing a lot of issues in that locker room, it feels like. And it's been shown in the past that locker room feels a bit fragile. Remember the year after they went to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs? That following year, they started out the season, bunch of wins, and just fell apart at the end of the season. This is a team that doesn't seem like they handle adversity super well. So we're going to see how they bounce back this week. They're on the road in Minnesota. That's a game they should win. Minnesota has a very good roster, but Philadelphia should win that game. We'll see. They need to rebound because things could get ugly quick for them if it starts to look like the end of that. What was that, 2023 season? So they can't have a repeat there. The Giants head on the road to Denver, where I believe they sit as 6.5-point underdogs. So we'll see if they can overcome the odds once again, get another upset win. But yeah, great stuff from the Giants. The future looks bright with Dart there. And 2-4, 2 games back now of Philly. I don't think the Giants are good enough to make a push for that division, but you never know. You never know. Crazier things have happened. So that's a lot of fun. I'm going to keep watching the Giants. They're a fun team right now. This upcoming week has a lot of good games, of course. Kicking it off Thursday with that Steelers and Bengals game. So that one looked a bit more fun at the start of the season with Joe Burrow versus Aaron Rodgers, but a Joe Flacco versus Aaron Rodgers game will have to suffice. And then, of course, to close out that week, you have that Monday night doubleheader with Tampa, Detroit, and Houston, Seattle. So a lot of fun games this upcoming week, and I'm looking forward to a great weekend of football. Got my picks coming out in just a couple of days, my power rankings tomorrow, my picks on Wednesday. And there should be some really fun Monday night football games tonight. So looking forward to it.